During the 2009 debate about the health care bill, President Obama and his administration claimed, yeah, look, of course we'd love to do single payer, but we just, golly gee, we just can't. That's what they used to say about the public option. Oh, public option, love the public option, just can't do it. Republicans twisted our arm. When in reality, there was no evidence that the Republicans twisted their arm at all. Now, would the Republicans have been opposed to that? Of course they would have been, right? But they didn't even try. Now we find out, because of Brian Schweitzer, that in fact, not only were they not trying, in the case of single payer, they were actually working actively against it behind the scenes. How do we know this? Well, Brian Schweitzer was introducing President Obama in his speech, and he was talking about health care, and he said, this is from a report on MSNBC, Schweitzer raised a few eyebrows when he introduced Obama by declaring his unabashed love for Canada's government-run healthcare program. And he said, look, they're just a couple of miles across the border right there in Canada, and they're doing a good job. They've had single payer for 62 years. And they've got a good healthcare system, and it ranks better than the U.S. healthcare system. So, well, that was interesting. Now, if you're a Democrat or you're a progressive, that makes sense, right? Not to President Obama, it doesn't. When President Obama came up to speak, he wanted to make it very clear that he was not on Schweitzer's side. He didn't want anybody to mistake him for a progressive. He said, quote, I'm not in favor of a Canadian system. I'm not in favor of a British system. I'm not in favor of a French system. What we've said is, let's find a uniquely American system. Yeah, nice little line there. In other words, hell no, no interest in single payer. Not clear enough? Well, it's clarifying to Schweitzer, who's the governor of Montana, right afterwards, because this is what MSNBC reports next. After the speeches were over, Obama sat Schweitzer down for a private talk. According to Schweitzer, the president said his voice wasn't helping the healthcare debate and asked him to step away. How do you like that? Your voice is not helping us. In other words, your progressive voice, not useful here. We're not interested. We're not going to go for a single payer. We don't want single payer. And then look, think about it. Even if you didn't want single payer, if you were progressive and you wanted a better, adjuster, cheaper system that was more efficient, if you had actually split the difference, you might have come up with an interesting plan. But instead, President Obama had no interest in that, right? So if you're not convinced yet, let's go to Kathleen Sebelius. Now, MSNBC reports, remember she's head of HHS, Department of Health and Human Services. Asked if the administration's program will be drafted specifically to prevent it from evolving into a single payer plan, Sebelius says, this is back in 2009. I think that's very much the case. And again, if you want anybody to convince people of that, talk to the single payer proponents who are furious that the single payer idea is not part of the discussion. So there it is, from the horse's mouth. So Sebelius, Obama, the administration never, ever, 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 ever wanted to do single payer, fought against it tooth and nail behind the scenes because, there's only two possible options there, I think. Three if you're generous. One is, they didn't want single payer and they didn't want the public option because they're conservative. They agree with the Heritage Foundation, and that's why they did ultimately what was the Heritage Foundation's plan. That's the simplest answer. I know it blows people's minds, but don't judge a man by his words, as the Bible says, judge him by his deeds, right? That's exactly what he did. Second option is President Obama is so sad and weak that he's like, I don't know. I mean, look, sad and weak is one option. Like, that you were so scared that they would call you a leftist that you left out a perfectly good option that would have helped you in negotiations, right? But what? But then the third option is you're stupid because anybody could tell you that would help you in negotiations. But no, I think if I give my final proposal in the beginning, the Republicans will like me so much that they'll just give it to me. If that's not stupid, what do you call it, right? But I don't think it's because he's weak or he's stupid or he's just the worst negotiator in American history. I think that's the system he likes, he agrees with. He agrees with Mitt Romney, he agrees with the Heritage Foundation. That's why he adopted their plan, and that's why he fought against every progressive proposal behind the scenes. So, newsflash for you, the president's not a progressive.